the #1 Costa Rica real estate and investment podcast, bringing you experts from all over Costa Rica.
Good evening, guys, and welcome to episode 175 of Costa Rica Real Estate and Investments with me, your host, Richard Beckson. This is going to be the last one that I do before the Christmas break here. So who better to get on than Erick Corrales? A lot of you guys know him. Erick is our head of or director of construction and project management here. I really want to get him on to talk about construction, the bidding process, where people kind of, I would say, can improve, waste money, and where the hidden expenses are, and just his general advice on building here in Costa Rica. He's had over 25 years of experience, oversees all of our projects that we have here in Costa Rica, and just recently delivered 3 Pequeño Mundos, which are like, I suppose, Lowe's that you guys have in the States, huge buildings here in Costa Rica. So it's going to be great chatting with him. Quite a few of you reaching out about the investment we have going on soon in Manuel Antonio. It's kind of a fractional ownership that provides investment returns, equity returns, and also usage rights as well. So anyone that's interested can email us info@investingcostarica.com. That's info@investingcostarica.com. But let's get straight into the podcast. Good evening, Erick. How are you doing?
Hey, Richard. Good evening. I'm doing well. How about you?
Good. Does it feel weird that we work together and you're also on my podcast?
A little bit, yes, but I'm very happy.
Well, I know a lot of people listening to this podcast have worked with both of us before, and you're managing a lot of the guys' projects that are on this as well. Again, you oversee all of our project management, construction here, tons of experience. So I thought it's smart to get you on the podcast because, sometimes, I've tried to get construction guys on here, but a lot of the time, they don't really have the viewpoint that you have when it comes to, protecting interests. And the advice that you kind of give to foreigners when it comes to developing and project managing here in Costa Rica. So I appreciate you taking the time to come on the podcast with us.
My pleasure, Richard. Like always.
Awesome. Well, I mean, the first question I always like to ask Erick is, we're seeing in North America a bit of a, maybe not a downward trend, but a kind of a bit of a slowing in the market there. I mean, how has the volume of your work been, which I suppose is my work as well, but have you seen a slowdown this last quarter? Like, how's this year been for you?
Hey, Richard, it's been a very busy year. I haven't seen much of a down, in construction. As a matter of fact, well, we're getting new clients, so that's good news for all of us. I think maybe there's going to be like a small down, on construction, but I will think like middle of the year, middle of 2024. Because I think there's still a lot of projects, in construction that are starting, that they did all the construction permitting process during these last 6 months. So they're starting right now. But so I think there's going to be a down, on construction, but we'll see it like, maybe in 2 or 3 or 4 months.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. Look, I think I'm starting to see it from some of the architects that they don't have as much work as they did do. That's usually the first sign for us. Like, number one is the real estate, number two is the architects. But, I mean, with the real estate, sometimes as you never really get the true story from the realtors, of course. I mean, we can see in our data here that like things have slowed down a little bit, but definitely from architects, we can see, because I mean, they're knocking on our door going, "Hey, Rich, have you got work for us?" Which a year ago was not the case at all. They wouldn't even pick up the phone. So, but like you mentioned something there, which is kind of like the timing of everything. Can you just outline the steps that are involved from like when someone buys a bit of land to when they like finish construction? Like, what are the things that kind of happen in between there?
Wow, once someone buys a property, basically it starts with all the preliminary studies, like soil studies, topo studies, contour studies. And then after that, the designing process starts. And normally those preliminary studies, it will take like a month and a half, a month and a half. Then the designing process with the schematic and construction drawings, that's like around 2 months and a half, 3 months. So we are already 4 months and a half, into the process. Then comes the permitting process that you have to go to CEFIA and some government institutions to get approval. That's a month normally. So you're in 5 months and a half. Then you go into the municipality to get the construction, the final construction permit. And that's between a month and a half. So basically, in order to be able to start construction from the date that you buy the property, that you have to think about 6 to 7 months. And from there, it will depend on the design and the area of the construction, but it's normally between 10 months to 12 months. So you're talking that you should be prepared to wait, a year and a half to year and 8 months in order to be able to get your new construction, basically.
Wow. Which compared to some, I would say, like in North America and also in Europe, is actually pretty quick. Sometimes it takes twice as long as that. So, I mean, sometimes I'm always pushing, to try and get stuff done in like 15, 16 months, as you're very much aware, Eric, especially with our own projects. But I mean, I think, I think that 16 to 18, 19-month time frame, depending on, again, how complicated the design is as well. That design process can sometimes expand out. The Sophia and the Mini stuff is kind of pretty fixed, in the studies, the front end studies, the topography source study. But I think it's that design process, and also the architect that you work with. Some architects take forever; they take a lot longer. And that's where we kind of help out by putting, meetings, which they love, of course, of like delivering art in a set period of time. But I think it's important for people to just know kind of what that layout is. Let's talk about construction a little bit, because again, the design phase of construction documents is all handled by architects and engineers. But like when we get into, construction here, there are different ways to kind of bid a project. What are those different ways that you bid a project, Eric?
Basically, Richard, when you do a bidding process, you can decide to do like a cost plus, that is basically, the cost of your materials and labor plus a percentage of an administration that the construction company will charge the client. So that's one of the options, is a cost plus. The other one is like a fixed price, or fixed price or key in hand. Okay, that is basically you set up, or how to say, like, you establish a fixed amount for the construction, the whole amount, the whole construction, and at the end, the construction company just give you the keys of the house, and you're ready. Yep. You don't have to worry about anything. Both have benefits, and how to say, like, cost plus. Normally, what we do in order to have our clients on the safe side, is that we have it's a materials and labor, it's a variable, but we fix the percentage of the administration. So since the beginning, that's a fixed price. In order to, like, for example, like if the construction, gets delayed, so the amount that the client pays to the construction company for the administration, it's going to be the same. So like that, we can guarantee the client that a construction company will not delay the process on purpose in order to get more money.
Which some do.
And of course, will some do. Yes. Like, we've seen it. We've seen that case. So that's why we like fix the price. Of course, we do have a very tough construction contract that some of the companies that we invite, they don't like. We have had the cases, where someone declines to participate in our bidding process because we are here to protect our clients, and that's our main goal. And the other construction contract is a fixed price, where basically the owner knows from the beginning how much the construction is gonna cost. But there's the down part of that, of the fixed price, is basically that there's some variables on the government, like the exchange rate, that it has been impacting Costa Rica a lot. we're gonna be we're gonna rule the world. We keep like this, the colones are getting stronger than the dollars. Never
We'll be
seen it
buying
before.
oil. We'll be buying oil in colones soon and gold. Yeah, will be.
Exactly. you know, but well, that's something that it had never happened before. So we had a fixed contract that at the end the construction company came to us and said like, hey, look, guys, we cannot continue with the contract unless we, sit down and
Renegotiate,
basically
basically.
do an analysis of what to do with the exchange rate because it's really impacting them. Like it it was a difference of a 20%. So
Yep.
in a fixed price of $1 million contract, you're talking about $200,000 that no construction company has it, right there sitting on the bank just waiting for something like that to happen.
Yeah.
So at the end, it's a fixed price that could have some variations due to major issues like exchange rate.
Definitely.
So those are like the two type of contracts, that we manage basically.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
look, I think that what we found out over the variation here of the exchange rate is a fixed rate contract is not really a fixed rate contract. Like, because I mean, and we put in now that, like, look, if there's a variation of 5% positive or negative, that we go back to the table and we that we chat, because again, it needs to be a win-win scenario here in all circumstances. And I think that everyone understands that, meaning that, like, it can't be that, like, hey, construction company, you set a fixed price contract here, like, I'm going to make you do this whether you like it or not. Well, they'll just walk away from the job. So it needs to be it's a symbiotic relationship where both need to win. But I think one thing we found is, I think a lot of clients have comfort in fixed price contracts, but really is with exchange rate at the moment, construction companies are padding it so much that it's really not in the benefit of the client to do it. It's better to do a cost plus and probably have someone sit on top of it like us or someone else that's watching everything for them, if that makes sense, and really pushing those efficiencies with that plus of the cost being a fixed dollar amount rather than a percentage, meaning if they finish in 8 months or they finish in 10 months or 12 months, it's the same amount of money for them. So they're incentivized to finish quicker.
Exactly.
So I mean, where at the beginning we were pushing clients to more fixed price contracts, I think it's more now if we understand of like, look, guys, fixed price is not fixed price. Like, we can get pretty close to the estimation here, but you guys need to understand that there's going to be a buffer here with the exchange rate. So
Exactly.
I think there's more risk now for both parties not knowing what it's going to be in construction than there ever has been. But we just make sure that, like, again, or anyone listening, just make sure that there's those balances within your contract that, like, that I would say takes care of both parties, because both should win. It shouldn't be a win-lose or a lose-win. It should just be a win-win or a lose-lose, if that makes sense, unfortunately.
Yep.
as
Correct.
as we found out. So
Yeah. Yeah. And as you say, like a lot of construction companies are now moving into the cost plus.
yeah,
They are like,
they
as
don't
soon as
want
you
the
talk to
fixed.
them, no, no, no. As soon as you talk to them, they're like, yes, but cost plus. That's what we're gonna bid on the projects. And
Yep.
yeah, it's yeah.
Actually, this brings up a question. I mean, I've seen a lot of stuff on Facebook. I say Facebook, not that I spend much time on it, of people like, showing a house that's a pretty nice house and saying that they could build for like, $1,200 a square meter, like a beautiful house, as Eric. And I see it and I just go, oh my God, there's no way that you could build that. Well, you could build that house if you own the construction company, like, and there was no profit or anything on it, and you really hammered down and were not using great materials, like, you could probably get it down to that. But give people an idea, from a medium scale house, what the cost per square meter is, to like a really high end kind of like scale house based on, what's the cost per square meter, Eric? There's a lot what people ask.
Yep. Like a middle house, middle range house. I will say that at this moment it's something between 1,600 to 1,800.
Per
That's
square
where it
meter.
should be per square meter. Exactly. Now, if we move into like a high end house, that's gonna be over $2,000.
Yeah.
That's gonna be like around 2,200, and it could go up to 2,500 easily. It just depends on finishes. At the end, it's funny because a lot of people, it's like, okay, let's reduce the area of the house because like that we're gonna reduce the cost. But then they come and decide to use like very expensive finishes, and that's not gonna lower your final cost because at the end finishes, that's easily 65%, of a cost in a high-end house.
Yeah.
It's very expensive. It's very expensive.
What are some of
So
those
that
finishes, Eric?
wow, I've seen houses, or people asking, for like floors, like used travertine, used marble, types like that. Used like
What about window
but I
systems?
forgot like windows, like use like high-end windows that you can easily be like over $150,000 and more, for just the windows of the house. Um, what else? Like finishes on the walls. Just use stucco or a special finish for the walls where you can use like paint that it's like really nice paint. So uh, wood, like people using wood all over the house, exposed wood, that also increases the cost there because it needs it, it it's expensive at the beginning and then it needs a lot of maintenance too. What else? Like they over having like a lot bigger spaces than what they need. Like bigger bedrooms where you don't need bigger bedrooms in Costa Rica. You need to have like really nice outside areas, bigger outside areas, bigger terraces, but not interior spaces. You need to have like normal spaces, comfortable spaces, but not big enough. Here in Costa Rica, we spend 80% of the time outside. That's why we have a really nice climate, a lot of sun. So basically, you are outside always. What
What
else?
about AC?
AC, yes, that's an important point too. There's a lot of clients, that they decide to use like a central unit for the whole house. And first, it's very expensive, and also it's very delicate because if you have a failure, you basically have a failure all over the house. So if you have
Yeah.
guests, you're not gonna have a comfortable comfortable area for them. So what
Yeah.
we normally recommend, is to just use independent units for each area. It's less expensive and it's also, you know, thinking of maintenance, it's a lot simpler. Yeah.
Yeah. Are there different parts of Costa Rica that it's cheaper to build in than others, Eric, in your opinion? Meaning, is it cheaper to build in the southern zone or Hochau than it is up in Guanacaste? That might be different in San Carlos than different in San Jose, and why?
It is different, Richard. Yes, and we found out, that there's at least, I would say, like 20%, 20-25% difference depending on the area. But also what we have found out too is that uh there's different qualities in the
Yeah.
different areas, so you are able to find like a lower cost, but the quality that you will receive for that lower cost, you will see it too. So at the end is, yes, there are areas where you can build for a lower cost, but you need to really be on top of the builders in order
Yeah.
to not have any surprises at the end. Yeah.
Eric, we take on a lot of projects sometimes where the construction company just can't get it done, if that makes meaning it's disorganized, it's running off the rails, it's over budget, etc. I mean, in the beginning, when people are interviewing construction companies or considering companies, what are some of the questions that they should ask, and what are some of the warning signs, do you think?
Wow. You know, like in anything, basically in life, when something looks like to be like a very good
Too good to be
opportunity,
true.
yeah, too good to be true. Basically, you need to be aware. I think it's important, that people, when, a construction company tells them or gives them a number, to ask them to detail that number. Because normally, something it's not included, and we have had a couple of experiences there where, a client came to us saying like, look, there's this company that is gonna build us. At that moment, it was like I think $1,250 square meter for a house that we were telling them that it was gonna be like around 1,700 at that moment. So I talked to I chat, to the construction company, and I asked them to please detail their, their numbers. And well, they were not including furniture. They were not including, like, fixed furniture. They were not including some of the finishes, that we were requesting to the rest of the construction companies. And, as a matter of fact, that same company at the end, when they level their quote to the rest of the bidding quotes that we had, the rest of the bids, when we send them the construction contract, they quit the bidding process. They just like they didn't continue.
Yeah.
So I think it's important, to ask for their experience. Of course, I think it's important to ask for clients to talk to and be able, to just ask them, like, where were the hard things with this company? Where were the headaches? Because there's always going to be headaches in any construction.
Yep.
Like the person that comes and says like, hey, look, don't worry, it's going to be like smooth and it's going to be a really easy process. Don't, they're lying. There's no way that a construction is not going to be stressful. There's no way that a construction is not gonna have problems. All of them, because all of them are very different. There's not like a recipe for construction.
Yeah.
So that's why you need to like oversee the construction like seriously, and always have like a really good communication with the construction companies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you said there to oversee the construction company. I mean, whose job is it to oversee the construction company, Eric? Like to make sure that they're doing like everything correctly?
Well,
I
there's
mean,
two,
not
like
everyone has project managers, right, Eric?
no project
Everyone,
managers. Well, if you don't have a project manager, then the design, like the professionals, that design the construction, the ones that do the construction drawings, they're responsible to oversee the construction and make sure that the construction company is doing the right construction. So the technical direction, that is the responsibility of the construction, that is a responsibility of the construction company. But the supervision, that's the responsibility of the professionals that did the design. So they are the ones. If there's no project manager, they are the ones that need to be at least overseeing, that things are being done correctly.
But Eric, we've found in some things that even sometimes those people overseeing the construction, do not have the experience to oversee the construction, meaning they've never been in construction, meaning they're in the technical drawings, etc. But like bending rebarring correctly, or like just small stuff like spaces, between the molds and the rebar, so that when it's poured, it's not pushing out. And like it's, if you're not there every step of the way and know what it is that you're talking about, I mean, there could be stuff that can be hidden, right? Because those guys are not there every week.
No, correctly.
No.
And that's why you really need to trust your construction company, and that's why it's very important to find out, a construction company that you feel very comfortable with. And that's why it's important to at least, talk to at least three different construction companies before you decide, to select one. Because
Yeah.
it's a relationship, it's a long relationship, because at the end, as soon as you have like the construction is finished and done, at least for a year, you're gonna be in contact with the construction guys.
Yeah.
That's for sure. Because
Yeah.
small things are gonna appear, and cracks are gonna show, especially in Costa Rica, that we are a very seismic country. So, and yeah, things like that, the tropic. So,
Eric, let's let's just talk here a little bit about payments to construction companies, because that always comes up. I mean, we've had people before being like, yeah, I put like 25% down on the first day of construction and the guy did a little bit of work and walked away, or I put 50% down. I mean, what's your suggestion or recommendation to people when it comes to payments?
I will never, I will never give, I will never give more than 15%. I think that's 15% should be and enough, enough for someone to start, and then any payment should be done according to the construction progress, basically.
Okay.
You should not give any money in advance, that it's a big percentage. There are some subcontracts like windows, normally windows, that they request 50% down payment in order to proceed. But normally what we'll do is we'll give like a smaller percentage, and we'll go and see on their shop, as soon as they have like the material and they are starting to work in the project, then we approve to do a second payment. So at the end, you cannot be very confident. You have to always think that something could go wrong. It's not that people is thinking, to take advantage of anyone else, but something could go wrong. So it's just like a matter of protect yourself, basically.
Yeah.
But see, like down payment, no more than 15%.
I think people just need to understand if there is no recourse. So if you send money and you lost it, like just imagine that there's no recourse, meaning if you were to put 25% down and that disappeared and you never heard from that construction company again, there is very little recourse, guys. So you just need to be careful of like feeding it a little bit in time. I mean, I think if you're there every single day, it's easier, like when you're in country. But if you're outside the country building, you just need to be really careful. And I mean, we've seen it with big developers here as well, Eric, where like, they've asked for huge deposits down or final payments and the place is not ready. I mean, how many jobs have we had where we're just basically being the auditor of work?
A lot.
Yeah, and then the companies come to us after and say, hey, you guys did such a good job. Can you now work for us and making sure that everything is done at the standard that's necessary? We're like, yeah, we can, as long as you're willing to pay us.
Exactly. Yeah. I don't know. It's I don't know why people people trust a lot of in Costa Rica, and I'm sorry, and I'm not saying that we're that you don't have to trust us. You do have to trust us. We are very good people. But I don't know why like people comes to Costa Rica, and they just like think that everything here is perfect. We are really cool guys, and we are pura vida.
Which you are.
But yeah, we are. Yeah, but it's business, and at the end, as any business, you have to be careful, basically.
Yeah.
But
well, cool.
I will say 90% of the time, everything is gonna be okay. Everything is gonna be fine. You will not have a problem. But there's always a 10%.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. Well, my last question for you, Eric, because I've kept you long enough, which I love to ask everyone. If you inherited $500,000 and had to invest it in a business or real estate in Costa Rica, what would you invest it in and why?
Wow. Good question.
You can't say you're going to give it to me, dude.
Well, that's what I will do. Yeah. I will invest in the fund. No, no. Uh, well, I think I will look for an opportunity, to invest that money in a development, in construction, in remodel, do something with it, and because that's of course what I do.
Yep.
And that's what I like to do. So I will try to do something like that. But also I will look for someone like you, that you have like a really good eye on businesses and things where to invest money. You always have like a really good idea what to do with money. So
What has
I
worked
think
so far? I mean, what about locations though, Eric? Where would you invest? Which locations do you like? I mean, we get to travel the whole country, do projects, we get to see everything. I mean, which are the locations for you where you're just like, that's just great. That's just a really solid place.
I will say Tamarindo and around Tamarindo. Yeah, I think it's like number one. And the second, I will say South Pacific, Ojochal, around Ojochal. Not even
Yeah.
Uvita. I will say Ojochal and around Ojochal. I think those will be my top two.
And
Yeah.
you'd basically look to go into development and build something or remodel something.
Depends on the opportunity, but uh, I will try to look for a really good opportunity of land, and I will develop it. Yeah, do
Yeah.
something new, and then put it on the market.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. Well, Eric, it's
Yeah.
been an absolute pleasure getting you on here. Anyone that has any questions about construction, I'll put all of Eric's contact details in the description down below. If he has time, he'll answer it. I know he's running around like a headless chicken to all these projects. So, but no, it's been an absolute pleasure getting you on here, Eric. I can't believe this is the first time that we've had you on the podcast, even though you and I have been working together nearly 2 years. It'll be soon. But I appreciate you sharing your wisdom with us.
Hey, my pleasure, Richard. I'm very happy, to share all my knowledge, and please, reach out. I'll be more than glad to respond. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yep.
Happy
Perfect,
holidays.
Richard. Hey, you too.
Catch you later.
Okay.
Hey guys, hope you enjoyed that podcast there with Erick Corrales here in our office. Again, as I said, Eric has a wealth of knowledge there in Costa Rica, and especially when it comes to construction. I mean, we're overly cautious when it comes to construction. As we say, we try and get everything on budget and also on time. We're usually pretty good about that. We've had a few things here and there that have come up, but typically I would say probably within 2 weeks of the actual drop dead date that we usually give to projects, and usually on budget as well, when huge exchange, I would say swings don't impact us as well. So just great getting some input there from Eric, his sage advice just on contracts and payments, etc. Just be cautious whenever doing any construction here in Costa Rica, and just make sure that you've got somebody on your side of the transaction, kind of just really looking after your interests. So if you've enjoyed the podcast, guys, please give us a thumbs up, 5 stars. If you'd like us to cover a subject that maybe we haven't covered, feel free to reach out to us, info@investingcostarica.com. That's info@investingcostarica.com. Happy holidays to everyone. I hope it's nice and it's not, well, maybe some of you are going to be warm. I think the majority of you will probably be cold that are listening to this. Down here in Costa Rica, summer is here, clear blue skies, the wind is blowing. It's actually a little chilly, if you can believe it. I say chilly, but it's kind of probably like 85 outside, so I can't complain. But again, appreciate all your support this year, guys, and we'll see you in the new year. Bye.
The #1 Costa Rica real estate and investment podcast, bringing you experts from all over Costa Rica.